Alright dudes, we're back with episode 2 of Making Metroidvania, and today we're going to refactor our jump a bit and just add a few little things to make a slightly better jump. We'll also be adding a double jump. So to start off, this is where we left off last time. We had our idle, our run, our jump and our returning to idle. It was a pretty basic thing. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create what's called a fall state, and a fall state is pretty common and it's used in a hell of a lot of platformers. So just quickly, if you look at the bottom of the screen here, you'll see I've got an animation called fall. It's just one frame. I just took the last frame from our jump animation and I used that. I also cut the jump animation so it kind of cuts out one frame early and then switches to the fall. So all these are the motion of the player going up, as you'll see here. And then when he gets to this last frame, we switch into the fall, which is the exact same frame, and just comes back down again. I did explain how to do the animations last time. I'm not going to do that again, just check the last video. Okay, so to create our fall state, I'm just going to create a new state, or an action as they're called in this, and I'm going to assign it our new animation for fall. Don't forget to set your fall animation over here. All this is stuff we covered, as I said, so make sure you do it. And with the animation in here, I'm going to name it the fall, and I'm going to slide it right up in here between our jump and our idle. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this box here, and I'm going to paste the link between fall and idle. So what happens now is we go from idle, we press jump, we go into jump. So what we're going to do is when we reach the top of the jump, we start falling, and there will be a couple of other conditions. So let's add a link between jump and fall, and the first check we're going to put in here is, let's say, satisfies any of, and we're going to add a check, and first thing we're going to click is jump top. So this basically checks if we reach the apex of our jump. If we did, we can fall back down. So let's check this real quickly in our game, and you'll find that I am running, and when I press jump, once I reach the peak of the jump, I'll fall back down. And so that's the purpose of that, but we can go a lot further with that, as we're going to do right now. Okay, so what's a couple of cool things we can do with our fall state? Well, the first one is we can run off ledges, right? So we run off the ledge here, we keep going with our movement animation, which is not cool. Obviously we don't want this. It's kind of janky looking. So we're going to fix that by, when we're not on a tile, we're going to check if we're on a tile or not, and if we're not, we're just going to switch to the fall state. So to do that, I've made a bit of space between our movement and our jump thing. Now all I'm going to do is create a shortcut to fall. Going to pull it up here and right off run. And we can even pull it off idle too. Actually, we can run off both of these. So what we'll do is we'll split it like this, and we'll add a condition to our run. Add a link here. Let's pull this well over. We will be changing this up again a bit in the future, but for now we're going to do this and this condition. So if we are running and what happens? Well, let's pick our condition. So let's go other conditions, add condition, and we're going to say tile contact again. And if the bottom of me, and unlike we checked for our landing condition, this time we're going to say if the bottom of me is not touching a tile. So to use that, we use the is reversed Boolean here. So basically, if I'm touching this and it is reversed, then we trigger into our fall. And we can copy this from our idle. And so that looks pretty good. And what you'll find is we'll go into this fall, and this fall will switch us back to idle when we hit the ground for us to start running again. So let's quickly test that out. So here I am in game, I'm running along, and see there, when I run off the edge, I immediately switch to fall. That looks way better than when we were just running off the edge. So that is the purpose of the fall. We now can fall from the tip of the jump. We can fall from running off a ledge. So the last thing we're going to talk about, and it's one of the reasons that we've added a fall state here, is something called Coyote time. And Coyote time is also known as jump forgiveness. And basically what it means is when a player runs off a ledge, right? If you have to be pixel perfect, sometimes players can get frustrated and they feel like they didn't make a mistake even though they did, and they get annoyed at the game and they get annoyed at whatever, and they just don't have quite as much fun. So what we do to compensate for that is we create this Coyote time / jump forgiveness, and this means that the player can actually be a tiny bit off the ledge for a fraction of a second and still press jump, and jump will trigger. Or he can input the jump like we did the last day with a few acceptable frames, so it triggers a little bit early. So it just means you don't have to be as precise, and you can get some nice smooth jumping, and it just makes the game feel a whole lot better. So back in our player script, what we're going to do is, before we go to fall, we are going to create an action, and this action will be called Coyote time. Coyote time. Pop it here. And so these links now, instead of going into fall, what they're going to do is they're going to run into Coyote time. So we just cut this, we'll paste it here, and we'll cut this guy, and we'll paste it here. And so how are we going to make this work, right? Let's think on this. How are we going to make a Coyote time work? Well, the simplest way to do this would be, whatever length we want to give the player, we're going to say, if that amount of time passes, we go to fall, and if the player presses jump in that amount of time, we can go to jump. So let's create a shortcut here for jump, and we'll just take the button, copy and paste, and this is just our condition to make us jump, and we'll run that straight in from our Coyote time to our jump. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add a link over here to fall, and what we're going to say with the fall one is we're going to create a condition, and this will be the amount of time that the player has to press jump, and we're going to say time elapsed. Now we can set this to any value we want. 1 second will be huge jump forgiveness, 0.5 seconds, 0.3, usually about 0.1, and that is pretty forgiving, but if you're a bad platform player like me, you'll appreciate it. So what we'll do then is we'll give priority to the jump button being pressed, so we'll set that to 2 and this to 1. Okay, and to show off our jump forgiveness and our Coyote time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run off this ledge, and we'll see like different values and how they affect it in different ways. So this is with a 0.1 jump, right? See, I got off the ledge there and I still had time to press jump. But if I increase that time or lower that time, it makes a big difference to how the game feels. So here I am again, I'm on the same time, I'm going to run, I'm going to give it a bit, and I couldn't press jump that time. Despite me hitting the input, I was too slow and I missed. The jump didn't happen, and we switched to the fall condition and we fell to the ground. Now back in our player script, let's look at this condition again. And this time I'm going to say time elapsed is a full second, right? So 1 full second to make this happen. I'm going to save all my scenes, and I'm going to test play. So now I can run way off. See how much time I had there? Like I ran halfway across the map before my Coyote time ran out and I actually started falling. Let's do this again. Yeah, see? So you obviously don't want the jump forgiveness this big, but you don't want one that's too small that it's not fun either. So like I'd suggest tweaking the numbers in your own game to find one that absolutely works for you. So you'll see here the one that I like best is 0.07. It's a little bit less forgiving than the 0.1 we had at first, but I feel it just feels nice when we're playing. It's not too punishing and it's not too forgiving. Okay, so in total now, this nice smooth run, this nice jump, we run off a ledge, that's just nice. And everything is nice and smooth. We've got that nice jump forgiveness. There. So that's pretty cool. So that's the end of episode 2. And what we're going to do in episode 3, I'm going to teach you how to make the Metroidvania standard double jump, which of course every game needs, where you can jump once and jump again. So I've already made it in my game, but I'll teach you guys next time. Till then, peace.